Welcome back to a family business podcast. Today, we have a great topic. You think you want to be a realtor, huh? You want to have a career in real estate?
I do.
PT?
I don't know.
No, I mean, if you're a realtor, I mean, even if you're just considering a career in real estate, or if you're someone that's been in real estate for a long time and you're considering why you're in this career and maybe what you need to do to go to the next level, I think this podcast will be helpful because we're just going to get like real with you. No pun intended there. I mean, we are real with real, but we're going to get real about what it takes to be a successful realtor.
Well, yeah. And if you're considering entering into the industry, becoming a realtor, it'd be a disservice if we sat here and told you everything's, the glitz and glamour and the spotlight's on you, which 95% of the things that you hear about the industry is not true.
I would agree with that. So let's start off.
Well, let's start off. But why don't we, before we even start off, what's the number one misnomer about real estate?
It's easy.
You can set your own schedule.
You make lots of money.
Yeah, which would go along with it's easy. I mean, all you do is you drive around and you pick up checks, right?
Pick up checks. You fly in private jets.
Yep. Drive around
meet cool
Bentley.
people.
Eat at fancy restaurants all the time. Yep. Take vacations all the time. You can just be sitting at the pool with your phone and you just,
just get deals.
Make $100,000. I mean, it's great. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, we all know that's not true. So now let's talk about reality.
Yeah. So let's talk about, when you get started, I mean, how hard it is in the real estate business.
I'm just dying laughing that PT wrote on the side of his paper. I'm so sorry. It says, sugar, sugar, oh, honey, honey. You know that song,
Yep.
Yeah.
If you are my candy girl.
If you could read my notes after every podcast, you're like, that's just my brain.
Well, that's how you remember to mention things.
Right.
So I think the number one thing I think is that if you are someone that is considering it becoming a realtor, I think that the number one thing that you need to consider is that it's not a salary job. It is a 100% commission-based business. Now, you could find a position somewhere, which we'll get into some of that, where you are an assistant to someone to begin with, or you have a small salary and you're doing some things while you're learning the industry, but that's not really enough to support yourself. And so I think that's the number one thing is like, it is literally just like if you're starting your own business. Like if you were someone and you wanted to go open a couple restaurants or you wanted to open a store, that is some hard work. You have to invest time and money and effort into that before you see a return on investment. And that I think would be the number one thing that I would want to get across in this, is that if you want to have a successful career in real estate, you have to understand that in choosing to get into this business, you are starting your own business.
Yes, it's your own business is exactly right. A lot of people really think when they get in the real estate business that I'm going to have a coach and they're going to tell me how to do everything and it's going to be easy and I'm going to start writing contracts within a week and I'm going to be rich. And that's just not the way that it works. If you get yourself with a good company, they're going to set you up with a good training program, which I can't even tell you how important that is. So that gets us back to the next thing is if you're not on a team where you're getting a salary or
wait, that's kind of misleading when you say getting on a team where you're on a salary. You mean if you are not taking,
I should say team.
Yeah. If you're not in an administrative position, like almost like a paid internship.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, that's not really enough to support yourself. So you might need another job at the same time. But yes, okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it might, looking backward, I mean, unless you have a wealthy spouse, unless you have reserves, which that's probably the most important thing is that if you're going to get into the real estate business, you should probably have about a year's worth of reserves of
at least 6 months,
at least 6 months minimum of what you were making at your old job.
If you're the one that supports your family or your business
Right. Because if you don't expect that you're going to make a whole lot of money right away, that you should be using that beginning time to learn the business, that you're just not going to jump out there and make a bunch of money. Now, we've had a couple of people in our office here recently in the last couple of years that have done very, very well, like right away. They're the exception to the rule, and that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, I think the first thing that needs to be understood is that you have no idea what it's going to be like until you actually start. Where vice versa, you look at a corporate job, sales, management, marketing, you have some type of expectation that I have to be there from 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. And I just need to get done what is asked of me. Where this is, it's all on you. And you have to understand from the beginning is that nothing's going to happen unless you move. So that is the biggest thing you have to understand. Right, exactly. Nothing's going to make it make or break is understanding of what's going to happen. So how do you prepare yourself? It's hard, but it's having conversations. Brad mentioned potentially a team is a good place for someone to start that's starting in the business. So just taking those steps to prepare yourself to hit the ground running, some type of sorts.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. And I mentioned training. I mean, obviously that's very important, but even more so to have a mentor that you can go to one-on-one, whether that's a coach, which, those can be pricey. But more importantly, somebody that you're working with every day, whether that is the leader of your team, whether that's the lead trainer on the team, what that is, that you're able to call them and ask them questions, learn about the business, and learn as much as you possibly can right away.
Right. And I think the other big thing is to understand is unless you're in one of those admin positions, which I would probably highly recommend for most people, again, unless you have that like 6 months to a year reserves sitting there so that you can just not get a paycheck for a little while. I think that probably is a good way to start, right, in the career. And then you also know for sure if you want to do that, right? But you have to understand that, okay, let's just say that you are the best real estate prodigy that ever existed, and you are just going to kill it like never before. You're probably still not getting your first paycheck. Let's say you get your license. You're probably still not getting your first paycheck for probably a good 60 to 90 days. Yeah. I mean, and that's assuming you get some deals right out of the gate. So, I mean, you have to be prepared for that. You have to understand that's the norm, and it's no different than a business, because it is a business. We just talked about this. You start a business, you have to build it out. You have to stock it with food or inventory or whatever. And then you start selling things. So you're not going to start getting any money back from that business, and real estate's no different. And I don't think people understand it that way, because and then what happens is, they call it commission breath, right? Like people can smell it. And it's like, it's the people that's all they can focus on is getting that first paycheck. And so they're forgetting the steps of learning, which is how you grow a successful business into one where it is, I guess operating, I don't want to say on its own, but it's just, it's rolling, right? Like you don't have to do all the things you have to do in the beginning because you've built the business the right way.
Yeah. And you're not, every time that you go out, you're not saying, I hope they buy this house so I can pay my bills. I mean, that's not a very good spot. I mean, like there's a lot of times that I tell people not to buy houses that they like, but don't love. And they're like, well, I just want to get into something. The easy answer would be obviously, yeah, buy the house and then you end up getting paid. But that's not the good long-term answer. Right. That you want to make sure that they're buying the house that is the right one.
Because eventually you'll be hopefully the one coming back on the end time to sell their house. So yep. You just have to take that consideration too. So, we talked about preparation. And, I think the other thing that is really essential too with potentially looking into this industry is, hey, is this going, why do I want to do this?
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, and going back to, again, if it's because you want a flexible schedule and you want to be rich, then probably just go do something else. And not that sorry, that's not proper English.
Yeah, it's close
not
enough.
That either of those things are not possible. I mean, real estate is something that can be a very successful career, very financially rewarding, and you can have a flexible schedule, right? But that does not happen the first couple of years. You are grinding and building your business. So I think that that's the big thing is, like you said, PT is really understanding that it's just like anything else. You have to have a realistic expectation of what's going to be expected from you. It's like, somebody that wants to play in the NBA, right? You don't just, shoot some hoops and then go try out and get drafted, right? I mean, you got to put in your time and you got to learn. You got to have coaches. You got to have mentors, people that are really teaching you what to do. And then that comes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anything else. You have to put in the time and be consistent about it. The other thing I would say, I know this is tough and we just talked about this, is like, I mean, I just really feel so strongly about this. And this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I just don't feel like real estate's a job you can do part-time.
No,
I'm sorry. I just
100%
don't
agree with that.
I don't.
And I also really think that any of the top agents that I know, they're all dogs. And what I mean by that is they're tough and resilient, right? If you're sensitive, and I say this lovingly, if you're sensitive and you can't take any criticism, you're, what's the word for it? Thin-skinned.
Yep.
You're not a rhino.
It's a very tough business. There's a lot of emotions, right? I mean, it's like a roller coaster, like literally sometimes, especially when you're new in the business, when you haven't experienced a lot of these things.
Well, and that's a huge thing to touch on too, is that, residential sales has a ton of emotion built into it. And the purpose of the realtor is to be that advisor, to be sometimes that therapist, as much as we want to, or we don't want to. But, being able to have a check on your emotions and how your clients feel in the situation that's going on is a huge, big piece of being a successful realtor too. And there's a whole bunch of things that play into that. We talk about the schedule that you have to work, or potentially the no's that you're going to get told. There is a ton of mental, not warfare, but just, testing your mental ability to handle all of these different emotions that come onto you in the day. And most people can't handle it.
Well, and it's not only your client's emotions, but also your own, right? I mean, you might really think, I met these really nice people. We really hit it off. And then all of a sudden you never hear back from them again. Or say that somebody that they end up not using you as their agent. This all happens. But the resilience, like long term, once you have enough clients, once you have enough conversations and you've been doing this long enough, you realize there's always the next person out there and you don't have to worry about that one deal all the time.
Here's something interesting too to take into consideration if you're thinking about becoming a realtor. The average person knows 8 to 9 realtors.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. Okay. So it's not just going to be a stroll in the park. Your best friend, your brother, they know realtors, right? So it's not just going to be that, okay, you need to buy a house or you need to sell your house. Great. They know 8 other people that can do that for them.
Exactly. And that makes it challenging when you're new, especially.
Right.
Well, and I will say again, like, so, I said this about not being a part-time realtor, but I do think that there's something to be said about when you just, if you decide that you want to have this as a career, which again, I wouldn't choose to do anything else in the world. There's so many reasons why we love real estate, all the people we've met, all the people we've got to help with their home, all the people that we've got to help, in the next life phase, whether it's because they had a baby or they got married or whatnot. I mean, there's all just so many cool things, right, that you get to be a part of. And it's so rewarding. And the relationships you build are lifetime relationships if you do it the right way. But I would say that it's okay. Like if you're, get on with a real estate team or get on with a top producing agent as, their assistant or as a transaction coordinator, or as a runner, or, I joke about this with Brad right now, but like, it's like, sometimes I feel like I literally just need an assistant to this sounds so stupid. Pick up your dry cleaning, buy my groceries, but come into the office and stuff postcard or, stuff mailers and stuff. But guess what the cool thing is about that? If you have another job and you're just doing this part-time, you get to be in proximity with all these people that are, do have these successful careers and have built these successful businesses. And it's like, you get that, that what's the saying is like, be in the room. You get that time to be in the room with them to really like see what it's like. Right.
Mhm.
And then, during that time, hopefully you're setting yourself up for being able to transition into it, doing it full time. Like you say PT all the time, like when you got to intern with us for 3 years, I mean, that was like getting and then you spent, shadowed Brad for a year. That was your MBA in real estate, right?
Yeah.
You can't get it just from your licensing classes to get your license. That's not how it works. So I'm not saying that you can't start considering a career in real estate on a part-time basis, but when it actually comes to, if this is what you want to do, it's just so hard for me because agents that are part-time in our marketplace, typically, this is not everybody. There are a few that, can pull it off, but typically they don't answer their phone on a regular basis. They're not available when you have questions about their listing. Their buyers are the ones that are calling us later going, why didn't I get the home? Because the agent didn't see it for 2 days after it came on the market. So they lose out on it. I mean, that's real stuff, right? And that's what you have to think about, because if you're getting in this business to help your clients buy and sell and build a home, then you have to be there,
Yeah.
right? And you cannot be there if you're doing this part-time. You cannot fully do that. If maybe you have a partner that's full-time that can pick up that. I mean, there's all kinds of other ways you can do it, but I'm just saying
it makes it a lot harder.
Yeah. I mean, just think about if you want to open a restaurant. I mean, if you're only open 2 days a week, I mean, or I'm only open from, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, how successful is your business going to be?
And a lot of it too is you have to constantly follow up with these people too, right? So when you're at another job, you lose a lot of that time to really do that. That by the time you get home, you're tired and you probably don't want to do it. I mean, there's one right now. If you remember, Andrea, I got a call on a sign when we were in Napa Valley. It'll be 2 years this upcoming fall, and they're finally going to put their house in the market here in April. And they're ready to buy a house. That is a year and a half later. So that's the whole that would make it being part-time really hard, is that when would you have time to remember all those people unless you had a really good contact management system? But
that's for another podcast.
You run out of time though, right? I mean, where you just don't have the time, and the part-time thing is just really tough in real estate.
Well, and the amazing thing about our careers is that there's no ceiling, right? It's all up to you. And that's the great thing about it, is you can make it as amazing as you want to, how hard you work to get it to be as amazing as you want it to be, to gain the most success. But if this is a second or part-time job, then you put that ceiling above
It's
you.
very difficult.
Then that ceiling comes into play. There's never enough time for us. I wish we had, endless hours to do everything that we want to do. But the great thing about it is that there is no ceiling unless you put it on yourself.
Yeah. And just like you just said, PT, I remember when I was about your age at our company meeting, like the year-end recap, and I'll never...
Our previous company.
Yep. I'll never forget when he said there's no secret to this business. It's hard work. And he's right. I mean, it's at the end of the day, yeah, if you're a little bit smarter, it helps. If you're this or that, sure. But at the end of the day, the hardest workers do the best.
Right. If you're willing to outwork the majority, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how skillful you are, and doesn't matter how long you've been in the business. As long as you're willing to put the effort in, it's going to come out in tenfold.
Yep.
Well, but I think that also, I mean, that just comes full circle, right? You're saying that if you're the hardest worker, if you put the work in, well, those are also the same people that are continually trying to better themselves for their clients. They're continually trying to educate themselves on, the new technology, the new marketing tactics, all the things that are needed, and the resources to, find their buyer the right house. Those are things that go hand in hand. When you're putting in the extra effort, you're also doing all that, which then of course is, in return, making yourself a successful business. The other thing I want to say is, if you are in a marriage, if you are in a relationship, if you have a significant other, a partner, whatever, kids, I think you also have to, it's no, again, no different than if you decided you wanted to open a restaurant. There's going to be a lot of nights, weekends, extra time, calls you don't expect. And I think you have to have that support system, right? I think that the person that you're with, you have to have that conversation with them and make sure that they understand that, hey, in the long term, right? Like this is going to be better for me because I will have, we say flexible schedule. At some point you do reach a point where you do have a flexible schedule in the sense of you can choose to block off time in the middle of the week because you want to do X, Y, and Z. If you have a kid and you want to go to their school party, you want to, go, those things are possible because you've built a business that allows you to do that if you build it the right way. But you definitely need to have that support system and know that there's going to be some times when, you're going to miss dinner because that's what you have to do to build your business because you've committed to taking care of your clients, and that support system needs to be there in order for you to be successful as well.
Yeah, totally would agree with that. And going back to what we were just talking about too, is you just have to be relentlessly consistent.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things where it's unlike a regular job, where if you're just a 9 to 5, you're just doing administrative work, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's not real estate, there's so many other things like we had already talked about. You're literally running your own business out of your real estate business. Like it's just its own thing. Right. So different than a lot of careers, where you're just getting there at 9 and leaving at 5.
Well, the other super cool thing about real estate is that it's no longer, and it used to just be a real estate business was just being a realtor, right? Helping people buy, sell, and build homes. No play off of our, team buy, sell, build. But the thing that's crazy is now in today's world with social media and all the different things, it opens up so many other avenues, right? Like networking with other agents. You could, have a mentor business. You can have a team that you coach throughout the country. You can do, there's something that you're passionate about from a philanthropist. I always cannot say that word.
Philanthropy.
Philanthropy.
Yeah, it's close.
Okay. You're passionate about it gives
philanthropic.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's what I already said was philanthropic, didn't I? Philanthropy? What's philanthropy? Does that have something to do with your feet?
Philanthropy is the main word,
Yep.
which is great. No, but philanthropic means
Phil, you just said it different again.
Like you do it.
Philanthropic?
Yeah.
Philanthropic.
Or that might be an adjective, actually, because that's a description.
Chat
Hey,
GPT, help us out,
guess
please.
what?
English.
Listen, if you are passionate about your community and some sort of organization or something that you want to give your time to, is that a better, that's
There
the
you go.
definition.
There you go.
It's the vehicle that allows you to do that, right? You can have a career, you can build it, and it's something that once you get it, running, and your referral based business, and you have clients that you work with, year after year, there is more of that opportunity to give back to some of those things you want to. So that is a super cool, rewarding thing. And not every business, you own a restaurant, unless you really get somebody phenomenal to run that restaurant for you, you're always going to be there,
Yeah,
So
you totally are. And like you said, giving back. When we really talk about lead generation, like I really think a lot of these agents these days, they really think about realtor.com. They really think about Zillow. I really think they've got it all wrong. You should have your sphere of influence should be the most important lead generator. And the way that you do that is you have to remind them constantly that you're in the real estate business, and in your sphere are also people that you're in organizations with, which you're being or what?
Oh boy.
We're just going to name this episode
Philanthropic
the
with
definition.
But let's go into just a little bit, Andrea. So we talk about lead generation, staying organized. Your calendar should be everything, right?
You should be looking. Yeah. If you're getting in this business, especially in the first, 3, 5, 6, 7 years, your calendar should be full. You got to know that, every day your goal is to have as many conversion happens the conversation.
Conversation.
Thank you. Boy, I cannot talk today. And that's something you
That's
have
usually my problem.
that's something you have to be prepared to do. Like Brad just said, I mean, your sphere should know what you're doing. So, you got to be marketing to them. You got to be having coffee dates with them. And maybe they're not necessarily all buying a house or selling a house, but they might know someone that's buying or selling a house. They're a great source of referrals for you. So if you're uncomfortable telling people that you are friends with, or that or your family, or you work with, or you're involved with in different things, that you sell real estate, if that makes you uncomfortable, I mean, take that into consideration, because you should be excited about it and want to share with people that this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So PT, you have a really good real estate coach.
Yep. Shout out Dusty.
Dusty.
Oglesby.
I know that you've even spoken with me about it, how he's big on time blocking, right?
Yeah. The calendar, the way we approach it is we live and die by the calendar. I was a very organized person before I got into the industry. And then what you'll start to notice once you start to lead generate and you start to get potential leads or showings, or however you want to approach it or word it. But your world kind of flips upside down. You start
5 times a day.
You start to chase. You start to drop. You feel this need to drop everything when someone needs something, and it's just the truth. So you have to do your best, because we talked about it already. There's not enough time in the day to complete everything. So you need to choose what you think is going to be most beneficial to elevate your business, and time block out throughout the calendar so you're organized, you know what you need to do. But I think also from the flip side as well, from someone that's still a little bit newer in the business, your calendar is not going to be full with appointments every single day, right? So you have to be good at identifying what else can I be doing. Is it lead generating? Is it calling people? Is it improving my listing presentation? Is it improving my social presence? So also understanding when my calendar isn't full with appointments, how am I bettering my business?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, that's when it comes down to is when you have a regular job, they tell you what to do, right?
Right.
When you run a real estate business, you're your own CEO. I mean, you have to have control over your entire business, and you've been doing a great job at that. And, like Andrea and I have been talking about, I mean, we've made it for how many years and not had a coach, which is probably not the best decision ever either. So, I mean, like I had actually talked about earlier in the show, is that, having a coach, mentor, you really need that right away to guide you in the right direction.
Well, for sure. And that's why I think it goes back to, too, if you're considering a career in real estate, is that you should talk to numerous people that are in the business and make sure that you're comfortable with them. Because at the end of the day, especially if they're approaching things the right way, is that, you're going to spend a lot of time with those people in the beginning so that you can really learn the business. And the only way you can do that is just by shadowing people and being with them and listening to conversations and seeing how appointments go. The other thing that I think that people that are going to get in the real estate business really need to understand is that there are different models out there, right? And there's not necessarily a wrong way or a right way for companies to do it, but you need to clearly understand what it is that you want or need and what your goals are in this thing called real estate. And you need to find a company or a team that aligns with that, right? So I think that's very important. The other thing that I would caution people is that, a lot of companies, the thing that they talk about, or teams that they talk about, a lot of people get very wrapped up in their splits, right? And it's crazy because we were just talking about this the other
0%, or I'm sorry, 100% of zero is zero, right?
Yeah. And we were talking about this the other day. I mean, like with our previous brokerage, I mean, it was not a wow, all the things we didn't know that we now know. But that's a different episode that you can listen to, which has already aired. I think it's episode 16 or 15 if you want to hear about our journey to where we are now. But, we look back and I mean, if we told people what we were paying as like the top agent, and I'm not flexing here, I'm just speaking the truth, the top agent in the company out of like 400 agents, and the split that we were paying, I mean, people would probably like roll over and like die laughing because they're like, what in the heck were you doing? But we didn't know any different, right? So I think that once we knew difference, when we started to understand, and also once we knew that what we wanted for our future real estate, then that led us to like explore more to understand it. So I think that that's a big thing too, is don't get as wrapped up in your split as it is if you feel it's the right environment for you. And really, ask people that are in that environment, if you know someone there, that like really how they feel about it. Like, how long have you been here? How is this helping you grow your business? Are you getting leads? Are you getting mentorship? Do you want to come into the office? Do you want to spend time with these people every day? I think that's so important. I just think
it really is. I mean, even though it's an individual business, it's still, if you're not in a team environment, it makes it very difficult. You want to be around people that make you better.
Yes.
And I think one thing that needs to be talked about too, is your ability to invest in your business. And when we talk about that, I mean, I think that's something that's kind of brushed over because it might be a couple years down the road where you don't have the ability to do that. But when we talk about splits, you're investing in yourself, right? The money that is going out in that split is benefiting you in the right way if you made the right decision.
Yeah.
So that's part of the investing in the early stages. That's helping you start your business, lay the foundation. And then, as you start to make a little bit more money, then how are you improving your business internally? And that's another thing. I just think that, people get stuck in that first wave of, I'm a realtor and not a business owner, right? At some point you have to take the jump. You have to invest the money to either get, a CRM system or marketing or social media director or an assistant or, a TC. So there's just different things down the line. Once you get to that point, that is crucial to invest to become a business owner.
Yeah, there's no question. And when we look back, Andrea, like how over the years, 25 years later, almost 25 years, the way that we've grown is our clients. You want to create raving fans. So you want to make sure that you take care of people, which we've already talked about a little bit here in our past episodes. But it's one of those where if your clients are happy with you, make sure that you get reviews. And also stay in contact with them, that they're going to tell everybody that they know how much they love working with you. And that's where you separate yourself from the 9 other realtors that they know, is that they already know you. And one of the other people that they know have worked with you too. It becomes then a no-brainer that, wow, I mean, they must be really good.
And I think that, that's how you avoid burnout, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I think the people that, I'm not saying that we have never in my 17 years and your 25 years, Brad, I'm not saying that we've never experienced burnout, because we certainly have. For us, that burnout though didn't come from really the client side of things. It came from our business. We did all the right things for conversations and growing our business with our Spear and repeat clients, but we didn't have our systems set up the way we needed to when that happened. I mean, we still joke. I mean, that year, 2012, when we just killed it, I mean, we literally had to we were like, we just created this beast that we have not set up properly to service our clients and to take care of them and to nurture them. And it was kind of like a, 1 year, 2 year, almost step back, but really it was just 2 years of growth. Yeah. I mean, we still had one heck of years, but we just really had to take that. And again, it just sucks because of the situation we were in with our previous, brokerage. It just wasn't the right model for us to have people that we could mentor that had done what we wanted to do. So again, really take that seriously when you're considering where you're going. But that was the biggest thing, right? Is that, if you have that referral based business and you like your clients, because you're going to love 98%, of them, maybe 99% of them, and that will keep you from burning out quicker, because they also, it's like, you don't have to hit your head as hard on the wall. That's what I say all the time, is like, when you're working with people that have been referred to you by somebody else or that you've worked with already, They already know, like, and trust you, like you said, Brad. So it makes it a lot easier to work with them, right? Rather than you having to convince them the reasons why what you're saying is correct, they already trust you. So I think that's huge too. And that also comes from the environment you put yourself in when you first start your business, because if you're in the right environment, you're getting those introductions from the people that are around you when you're growing your business. So they already kind of know who you are, right? It's not a random Zillow lead or whatnot. So I think that's important too, because burnout is a real thing in our business if you don't do things the right way.
It is. So question, PT, because you're newer in the business and you're not really new anymore. I mean, like we were just really talking
new
about
in comparison to you, 25 versus
it'll be
3 years.
Well, three full years,
right.
but
really
I mean,
6 years to count internship.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So because, when you're newer in the business, a lot of this is not repeat business. It's going out and getting business. So how between like online leads, open houses, social media, what has been the one that you would say has been the most powerful?
It's a really tough question because when you look at it, everyone has a different skill set. You'll talk to team leaders and they could probably separate their team and what their team members are best at. Someone might kill open houses, and that just might be their thing, is where they get the majority of their businesses from open house, because they can just have a conversation and make someone feel comfortable immediately. Or someone can just talk on the phone really well for lead generation. Or, social media, that might just be their thing, is they're comfortable in front of a camera. They know how to properly, invest the time into social media to use it to their best. I would say the best avenue for me currently, just because, it's something that was kind of ingrained, is just lead generation over a phone, making a phone call, checking in with them, following up. And I've got a pretty good system down to make sure that, because we go back to this, here's another hard truth. Lead generation, I would say about 90% of them are probably 6 to 9 months out from when you first talk to them. So you have to be prepared for, it might not be a no, but they're not ready yet. And buyers are liars. So once you once you understand that too, the importance of follow-up, consistency, and multiple touches, that's something that I've kind of got a good feel of.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And let's go over to Andrea now. I think, Andrea, I mean, just because we've been around for a long time, you remember back in the day when we would do a lot of open houses, we were pretty good at them, and we would generally get clients out of them. That's probably...
Who would get the most clients?
Me by far.
That is such a line of a lonky.
But I would say
we'd actually have competitions. That's the other thing that's really fun. I highly encourage this. Like, we would have competitions where it'd be like, we were both doing open houses back in our heyday. And it'd be like, he'd have 2 or 3 and I'd have 2 or 3. Yes, 2 or 3 open houses. That's what we did for fun. And it would be like, okay, whoever gets the most clients, like people that, you get their phone number and contact. And this is before we had really a CRM. Contact information and all that, like that person wins. I don't know what they used to win. I used to win all the time.
But wouldn't you agree, like, you're really good on the phone? You do a very good job of lead conversion, just
my background was in sales and marketing before real estate.
And I think, I mean, if I'm looking at this correctly, is that you need kind of a mixture of all these. Sure. That I don't necessarily think that you get business directly off of social media. I really think that's like your new advertising, right? I mean, where it's like name and face awareness now, right? Like, oh, that's PT Bowie, right? And if you're good at it, it's obviously going to draw people towards you, and you may indirectly get it from that, but it's just the new age, new wave of advertising, really.
It's branding of yourself, and it's also a great avenue to market your listings. Back in the day, I had to put ads in the newspaper. That was a lot of fun. And now you put them on social media. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're I say this all the time, and I mean, I think anybody in our office would tell you that I in PT can for sure tell you this. I mean, I think open houses is one of the most underrated things that new agents can do. And I tell you what, it is free advertising for you as a new agent. any person that walks into that open house, regardless of whether they're interested in that house, they buy that house, they're a buyer now, they still, if you are a professional and introduce yourself, they now put your face with your name and they know you're a realtor. And it costs you nothing to be there other than your hour and a half or 2 hours that day. And it's just a way to meet people. It's also a way to get a good feel for the market, right? You hear what people are saying and what people are thinking. And that's not, they're not Bible, but what the public is thinking when you're at those open houses having those conversations. And I just think there's way too many agents that just, I don't want to work on the weekends. Okay, well, going back to what we talked about at the beginning, real estate might not be the career for you.
Yeah.
Right. And to go back to your, free, free aspect of open houses. Well, the great thing about social media too is it's free as well. Free advertising. If you have a phone, and if you don't have a phone, this is the wrong career for you.
If you have an Android like David Derrick, I'm sorry, David, I had to.
Did you know that Chris
yes, she got an Apple.
Denny's got rid of her Android? So I think David Derrick might be the last one in the Quad Cities real estate community that still has a Android. No, I'm sure
but
somebody
you know what?
else does.
You know what? Regardless of whether he's Android or iPhone, he still does a good business.
Yes, he does.
So I think it might just be even better if he switched to that.
I think you're right. So looking back at all of our careers, what's the one thing that you wish that you knew? Do you want me to start?
Go ahead. I can't wait.
I wish that when I was younger that I would have leaned into an agent that had more experience and learned like one-on-one. I feel like when I was younger, I was the typical 22-year-old that thought I knew everything. And that's the one thing about UPT is that you're much more graceful in that aspect than I was. And I don't know whether I was trying to prove that I knew everything or what, but you ask a lot of questions, which is very impressive. I was kind of one of those where I always wanted to do it myself and which probably caused,
you still do.
Well, it probably causes a little bit more, I guess, heartaches and a little more time and a little more pain that I didn't have to go through. Whereas if but it was a different environment back then, right, where everybody kind of worked on their own. There really weren't teams. But I probably would have jumped on a team just to learn more quicker.
Well, I wish I would have had a better mentor.
You probably had the best.
I did have. I mean, if I don't tell you that enough, you know that. I mean, I had a phenomenal mentor. I mean, you are a wealth of knowledge. I say this, and those of you who've never been around Brad in person, which a lot of you probably listen to haven't. I mean, I will never forget when I first got in the business with you, and I would go to an appointment with you. You literally didn't even have to look at the contract. Like you just knew it verbatim. And sure, there was words that you paraphrased a little bit, but when we would sit down with clients, it was like, I was like, how in the heck? I mean, that's like 8 pages of stuff. Like, how does he know all of that? But when you say this, I mean, that you would literally study it. And that goes back to like, you're taking this seriously, right? You want to sit down and be able to have a conversation and be knowledgeable. And that comes from spending time in those documents. So,
right.
So 100%, you were, and not just about that. I mean, the neighborhood.
I do have to mention, those of you that know Andrea probably wouldn't believe this, but she used to be kind of nervous when we went on these appointments.
I was very quiet.
That's funny.
But no, and you are that, but also you're just a wealth of knowledge of this community. Like so I tell the younger agents or the newer agents in our office, I mean, partner with somebody in the office, like Peter and Sarah. I mean, like you just know who lived where, when, how, and what happened to that. I mean, it's just crazy. But one thing that I wish I had, which I knew, for the most part, I mean, I think that this is what I was in sales before, right? So I was fully familiar with what was expected. I knew if I put the time and effort in, I knew what the reward could be. I was also a farm girl. So I was fully set up for that in myself and what I wanted. But I think for me, the one thing that I wish I knew, and I can't go back now because it just went, but I wish that I would have known to really explore more of what I wanted my future business to look like. Like I wish I could have like this crystal ball of 15 years down the road or 10 years down the road, what things would look like so that I could plan better in how I was starting my business. And I think that maybe probably goes back a little bit to what you said, Brad, like being on a team or having a good mentor that had the things that I wanted or had the business that I wanted, and being able to really spend some time with them to help me get to that point instead of just trying to figure it out and making bad choices. And I mean, I wish I knew about Real, 17 years ago, but it didn't exist, but now we do, and we're here, but that's it.
That's right. One thing I wish I knew, I wish someone taught me how to do taxes. That would have been fantastic to know. It's just one other thing in the business that, there's a whole bunch of things that onion layered it through, but yeah, taxes would have been great to know about.
You and about every other realtor in the entire universe. So
that's right.
But hey, I think we would want to just end this by, if you're considering a career in real estate, we did not mean to scare you away. I think this hopefully helps you. If this is really what you want to do, it's a phenomenal career. You just have to be fully prepared for what is to come, right? So that you can have the most amount of success as possible. I also think if you're an agent that's been in it for a while, and you're listening to this podcast, maybe it made you kind of just stop and think about, if you're not having the success that you want to have, why is that, right? Are you treating it like a business? What are the things that you're not doing that you could do moving forward? Because you know what? You can't go backwards, but you can go forwards, and tomorrow is always a new day. So if you want something different, it's just time to make changes and do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you say all the time, PT?
Reach out to us.
No, aim, shoot. What is it?
Oh, it's ready, fire, aim.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. It's a very challenging business, yet so rewarding.
No doubt. There's no ceiling. It's all yours.
No, it's what is that thing you say?
Oh goodness.
When in that video you did with Sarah, what's the thing when there's no roof? No ceiling, what do you call it?
No cap.
No cap. There's no cap.
Peace.